Yes, hey, it's Boxing Day. Welcome to RELOVED Guitars, and just a very quick hello really. Just happened to be passing and brought out this old beastie out to the workshop with bright lights shining on my face, but hey. And this is a 1983 Squier Stratocaster, an original, bought brand new. And it's sort of very nearly as it was. It came originally with the white pickguard and white pickup covers, and this has since years ago changed it for black, and also changed out the plate on the back, and black knobs as well. Originally everything was white. Changed it for black, and in doing so end up losing the white stuff, which is a bit silly really. It's got a lovely sound. Everything still works. And it's a 3-position switch, so you have to switch it halfway between pickups. Thing. It's got that vintage look about it now, and even the pickups here, I don't know if you can see the pickups, the tuners, they've got a layer of vintage household grime on them. They could do with a good clean-up actually, which I will do at some point. But amazingly I can pick this guitar up off the peg, and although I probably haven't played it in months, it's still in tune perfectly. And it's still feels wonderful. It's got quite a narrow neck to it. It's got nice action, which is actually probably still a tiny bit higher than I'd set it these days. But it's just old and wonderful, and it's been around the world, and it has a little inscription on here that says Sam Deeks 1983, which I put on with some sort of engraving thing in a fit of madness. And on the back it has the JV serial number. Has the JV serial number, which everybody loves, and it's a low number actually. It's in the 15, so it's JV 15936. So one of the earliest. And it actually, I haven't ever taken the neck off, and I think I'm due to at some point. It'd be really interesting to have a look at the kind of the neck. But I can tell straight away what year it is. It's 1982 manufacture, and it's probably late end of 1982. At the same time as I replaced the plastics and lost them, somewhere in the attic probably. It's a pity, but I also changed out these bridge saddles, because at the time they were rusted and you couldn't actually do any adjustments. And then I had no idea where the originals went, so I've managed to find on another guitar. I found a set of Fender saddles which I can now replace these with, which is great, so I'll put those back in place. But I was thinking about doing that just now actually, whilst taking it apart and giving it a good old, the first ever look underneath the neck joint. Beautiful thing about this is it's got no cracking at all, maybe a tiniest little crack actually, but nothing major. It's had a couple of major knocks, big chunks of lacquer taken off there, but I've started filling those in with some nitro, and the lacquer has worn a bit off the end of here, particularly right at the end here, possibly where it's leaned against things, but I could put some lacquer on there and smooth that down as well. So all in all, it's still in a beautiful playable condition. I really like it. Everything's a bit crackly, but Yeah, so 1983, Japanese made Squier Strat, one of the very, very first of the lot with the little split tuners there. Haven't done anything to the tuners in all those years, no oil, nothing, just worked perfectly all that time. And from day one, these tuners have always stayed brilliantly in tune. Just can't fault them. They're better than anything I've come across on any other guitars since. Thoroughly reliable. In all the years of having different guitars, if I ever wanted to go back to something that was completely trustworthy and reliable as far as tuning was concerned, it would be this. You do anything to it, and it just goes back in tune. So that's what I'm going to do with this one. As I say, I'm going to do it probably give it a bit of a take apart. It's sort of time, and I've never done it, so it'll be a first, and I'll do it on video so that we can have a good close-up look at it. Dropping things, let's move this one out of the way and hang this one up for a minute. I have a few other things to do. I've got an Ibanez to finish off, and get going. I'm just missing a tremolo arm. I've got this vintage SG to finish, put back together again and finish, and it's a pity because I can't find the right white to touch up some of these spots. So for now I'm just going to carry on and get it done so that at least it's out of the way. It won't fetch fantastic money because it's not perfect. The paintwork isn't brilliant, and at the back it's got a kind of black blemish, but that's no problem. What I'm also going to do is do a little bit of work on this fabulous beast, which is the vintage AV6, which is quite an old second-hand guitar that I picked up early on in the RELOVED guitars thing. But this is a wonderful guitar. It's such fun to play. It's a really totally, again, a bit like the Squier, totally dependable. Heavy, solid, quite a chunky neck, but fantastically dependable. So I love this one. I'm going to do a little check on the action for this because I think I'll be using that quite a bit to practice in this band I'm in. And so we have, I'm going to turn these lights around a minute. We have Christmas festivities here in the RELOVED Guitars workshop. I thought I'd show you just how lovely and seasonal it is. Yes, well, so there's a few things going on. We've got over here, we've got an old Squier neck that I think this is the one that came sawn. Somebody had sawn it in half, and I sort of glued it and put it back together again. But I'll use it for something. It's not really that good condition, but it's, you know, it'll play really well. So it's waiting a bit of work. This is the neck for the next oak guitar, which is sitting down here in sort of early stages of construction. I need a couple of dry days just to get stuck into that with the door open and kicking all the dust outside. Here's an old, what's this? This is an old Encore body which I repainted. It was just in terrible condition, but anyway, I repainted it with some waterborne lacquer with a brush just to see how it went on, and then put loads of layers of waterborne clear lacquer on top, and then started to sand it down. It's got a long way to go yet, but I just wanted to see if I could get a reasonable finish out of hand painted, because I don't have any spray equipment. And then we have the Squier, which we've just had a look at. Beautiful old thing. We've got the white SG, which I'm going to have a go at finishing tonight. I think I can't really do much more to the finish, so I might as well put the guitar itself back together. And here we have slowly coming together is the Ibanez RG 370, which I got from a Gumtree ad, and it's actually going to be really nice. A beautiful slim neck on it. A couple of classical guitars, which are really just hanging out here to save space in the house, along with, as you can see, a few little practice amps that I've acquired along the way, which kind of can be sold on. But these, this one I got actually free from a guy I bought a vintage V100 from in Wembley, and I got two guitars for the price of one. But it's actually not a very, it's not a bad guitar, but it's, the tuners are rubbish. I bought really cheap ones. And this one here belongs to the brother of an ex-girlfriend of mine from Trinidad, and somewhere along the line I'm hoping to give it back to him one day, but it would cost so much to send it to Canada, which is where he now lives, that it's not a feasible option really. So it's a nice idea, but it's not going to happen, and not at least until he gets wealthy or I get significantly wealthier. Anyway, so just getting a few little bits moved out of the way. As it's Boxing Day, which is traditionally a day for eating cold Christmas food, which I can do without. Not that I don't just love Christmas, but I'm not a fan of cold meats and leftover things. Actually, I'm a bit of a humbug when it comes to Christmas anyway. But although I did get a great t-shirt, guitar t-shirt. I'm going to switch this off, as I always forget to do. Okay, so what are we going to do? I'll tell you what, let's just for interest, let's do a bit of something on this. There's no real need to do this, but I have a feeling it's kind of long overdue. Perhaps I should take you for a little video tour of this beastie, the Squier JV Strat with its dust. It's been hanging up indoors, but you can see it's got a little tiny made in Japan logo there upside down. One little not very good string tree, but pulling the angle really low. Actually, it's flattened right against the headstock. Dirty tuners, which they're greasy more than anything. They need to clean. Nice old rosewood. Frets aren't too bad, but you know they're 30 odd years old now. 31 years old, those frets. Got some big chip taken off there, which I might add a bit more lacquer to. There's no harm. It's all. I think this is all nitro. It's so old. Lots of scratches here. We could do a bit of polishing. Going to change out these British saddles and just basically give it a good bit of a clean up. But all round, it is a nice beast. It's got some lacquer needing polishing up on there as well. But yeah, as I say, it's never had the neck off, so this will be a first, and you can see it here on video. It's got quite a chunky tremolo block, but again, I don't think it's. I don't really think it's very good material. It's not steel. I think it's the kind of horrible stuff that I've been complaining that these Squiers are made of. Kind of an alloy. Anyway, let's see what we got. So first of all, I've got this strange strap arrangement that's been locked in place. I can't quite understand why I did that, but it's sort of it's held. It's a kind of lock strap, which I suppose is kind of useful. I'll take it off. This is quite something really to actually take the neck. Oh, this one's blimey. This one's nearly off altogether. So it's probably just as well. It's coming off. Just take it in here. It's got a washer as well. So hanging that off to one side. Wow, look at this. Let's take off these. And they're not even. They're unusual sized pickguard screws. All of it beautifully old. I think some of them have been replaced, but an awful lot of them are still the original. It's got lots of belt buckle rash, as they call it. Wow, 5 springs, would you look at that? Load of dust. Pretty big block here. but again, that's large. It's not steel, and actually, this tremolo has never. I don't think I've ever used it. Can't remember ever having used it as a tremolo. So, well, let's take the strings off. These are, in fact, Elixir strings, so that's part of the reason why they've lasted so well for so long. I don't want to dazzle you. Yeah, this will be cool. Hello.
Diana, on the phone.
Oh, thank you. Hello.
Hello?
Oh, bloody hell. Hey, what? No, I'm just doing some guitar-y things. No, he didn't come down. We just met him at the services and had a little hour and a half. It's very nice. No, he's gone back up. He's working tonight, so he's gone back up. No, he's not here. Hey, back again. Getting ready to do unspeakable things to this guitar, and it's quite nerve-wracking in a way. I've never taken this apart, so I'm going to do it. I'm going to take all the bits off. Oh, and I have my soldering iron warmed up for exactly this reason, and I was going to unhook the earth wire. Again, something that's never happened before. Here it goes, first time in history the solder has been undone. Da, 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 da. And then I will also, I suppose, I suppose I will take off the jack plug, the jack input. Chuck all the screws and whatnot into here. I've got some other pickguard screws. I don't think I've got any black ones though. I think those are all quite new. Oh, hello. There we have it. So I'll just pull these off, and we've got nicely soldered, never touched before. Here, never touched by human hands. So let's just double check this. So center is black is negative earth, and white is to the tip, which is the way it should be. Come on, there we go. Give that a clean, and then we can just spin off all these bits. And I know that some of these have probably not got much of a bite in them. I know some of the screws that I've got supposedly keeping these pickups in place are either worn out or the wrong screws altogether. So I'm going to have a look and see if I've got some other screws. And they used to, I think they worked with little rubber socks instead of springs, so that was the way it worked. But I don't think that this. I remember years ago I looked underneath there and they'd all perished and kind of rotted away. So I either replaced them with something or nothing. I can't remember. But hey, and what we know as well is the truss rod adjustment on this guitar is down here, and I'm going to have a quick look at the relief in the neck before I take the neck off. Just have a look how it looks. But yes, just how little I've been under here. I think I've looked under here in the past. Okay, well that means I can pull these things through, and I think I've done some sort of repair here because something hasn't been right in the past. There you go, made in Japan. Beautiful, everything in order. I might just double check these attachments because they look a bit delicate. I'm going to put this out of the way for a minute, safely. Wow, look at this. Ladies and gentlemen, look at that nice clean routing. Shake all the bits out. It's all very, very pretty. And I'll take this whole unit out, give it a clean up, and also replace, switch over the what's-its. In fact, I can use I'm allowed to use the screwdriver for this. I could even restore this back to working as a tremolo arm. That would be quite interesting. Hitherto, again, never used it with a tremolo arm. I think it must have come with it when I first got it. It must have been working, but can't remember. Of course, this will be held in place by the springs at the moment, so I can go behind here and take those off. All 5 of them. My God, that's quite some. And it's an alloy block. Sorry to say, it's typical Squier alloy, which is not fantastically strong. It'll drop out now. There we have it. The block. I mean, it's bigger than the modern ones. And actually, is it alloy or is it steel? It is steel actually, but it's not very. It's a softish steel, and those little holes there are a bit too close to the edge for my liking. But it has some weight to it, which modern Squiers don't have. There's the truss rod adjustment there, a star-shaped, cross-shaped screwdriver, and the neck here is now convex with the strings off. Now, to me, that isn't correct. I reckon we need an adjustment there before we take it off and put it all back together again, and that requires me to find my offset screwdrivers. It could be anybody's guess in this pile of stuff, so I'll search for them separately, and I can take it off and do it anyway. So I'm going to just now go the whole hog, and I'm going to start with my and put the torque setting really low, and I'm going to do it to 3 or 4. And it's coming off on 4, so I'll do all of them on 4. And this is historic, first time, never done this before in 31 years. This is amazing, I've never done it. Here it comes, 31 years later. The neck finally comes off this guitar. The screws have never seen the light of day. No grime under there. And we'll just lift it off, and we'll see whether we've got any shims under there at all, which according to this we don't. Interestingly, I can't even see a date on here, so that's confounded my hopes. I've got 10EX. Doesn't really tell me much. Okay, I do. I have. Blimey. I have. You won't be able to see this. Let's try and clean this dust off. This is really, 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 really fine. I'm trying to keep it still as I can. That says. Well, there's a number. There's 82 in there. 1882. I don't quite understand. 28 or 18 something. So it's month, day, year, and I was right that it's 82. But my God, it's clearly written by a Japanese hand that doesn't write it in the correct or the way we'd understand it. So it's something like 1882. I'm going to get a photograph of that because that's really curious looking. It's all wrong. I'm going to put my phone now. Oh, yeah, it's definitely wrong. I've seen a lot of these before, and they're much more legible than this. But this one is like somebody in the factory has tried to write Western or European characters, and obviously it's not a familiar thing. So yeah, it's 82, and it's I would say 18/9/82, which is pretty much what I expected it to be actually. I was aware that it was late 82. I bought it in 83. So here it is for the first time ever, disconnected, separated, which is great. It gives me a chance to just clean it up and take care of it. So I'm going to put the neck up safely out of the way for the time being and have a close look at the body first of all. Not that we're really going to do much to it, and keep in mind that this is, you know, this is all original, but there's no reason why we can't you know, clean up some of this stuff and just check over, and we could do a few repairs to some of these big chips and polish up some of this, or sand out some of these repairs I've already done. So, and that I've done that with nitrocellulose lacquer. To be honest, I had no idea whether this was done with nitro or polyurethane. Somebody else probably better tell. But the big sort of chips seem to have filling it with some nitro seems to work fine. So I'm not so precious. I don't think I'll ever be selling this guitar. It's come too far with me to do that. But I'm sure it will draw howls of horror and protest from people who think it should be treated in a certain sort of way. I'll probably do a bit of research later on and find out what the finish is. But no, as I say, it's ancient and it's been with me all that time, so it's got sentimental value more than anything else. The fact it's in, you know, it's still in pretty good nick, and it's interesting too that the sunburst effect cuts across this neck plate area here without. It's like there's a straight line. That's where the sunburst, somebody's given up on it at that particular point. I'll show you in a second. And they've sort of gone, oh, okay, look, that lives behind the plate, so why bother? I don't know if you can see, but there's a line that goes across diagonally here. Like, yeah, the kind of the effect with the stencil being held away to create a sunburst effect. Somebody's just either laid it down or it's something that's been sprayed when it's been flat. So it's quite interesting to see. But here we have it for the first time ever, the old guitar body that has been around with me. I mean, not too many countries. This guitar has been, it's been to America. It's been to Trinidad in the West Indies, and it's been to Germany and some other European countries, I think. And there was a time when it sat in a music shop in Port of Spain in Trinidad, trying to sell because I desperately needed money to get out of the country or some such, and it didn't sell. Hence it's still here, which is kind of quite cool really. It could have gone on and been somebody else's 31-year-old Squier Stratocaster with a history behind it that they might not have known much about, but instead it's here, 31 years old. Okay, so the question is, what am I going to do, if anything, with this? I won't do it on camera, but I'll do just a bit of polishing up if I can, and have a look and see if these big chips can be filled a bit more. Otherwise it's all in not too bad condition. There's a few little dents here and there, but not an awful lot. Well done. 31 years. Pretty spectacular. Okay, so I'm going to push that off to one side, and we'll go on a bit of a hunt to find the offset screwdriver so I can adjust the relief in the neck, and then I'm going to do a bit of fiddling here I'm rebuilding the tremolo block with these old Fender stamped things, which are actually, they're not as solid, and therefore the sustain probably isn't as good as the later versions, but they are more authentic, like, you know, and that's what might as well put them in. And I've got loads of these spare. I never found out where the other ones went. All the plastic parts, they must have literally gone in the attic somewhere, and that's it. I wasn't really thinking about it at the time. Typical. I just couldn't adjust them because they'd rusted after 30 odd years. So all I thought of was getting some new ones in. And that was before I'd started doing anything with guitars, so I didn't really stop and think too hard about it. I also, for most of the years this guitar has been around, I really didn't know anything about intonating it or setting it up in any way. So it's only in the last couple of years that I've done anything to it. And I think as a result, all the scratches on the tremolo plate here show that the bridge saddles, I think, have been pretty much positioned in one place in a line all those years, and they've moved from side to side and obviously produced a pattern of wear, but they haven't moved backwards and forwards, or they don't show a staggered pattern which you'd expect from a correctly intonated guitar. But it didn't bother me all those years. And it's true, you know, the intonation issue is so small that unless you're a professional musician or playing with other people, you probably would never notice playing on your own in your room all those years. But yeah, no, that's not a bad. It's not a bad chunky block. It's about twice the weight of the other Fender blocks. Again, this isn't a Squier one, but it's very similar to the Squier ones of today, and you can see it's a very thin arrangement, and this is probably at least twice the weight of it, and a slightly different kind of. I keep thinking it's steel, but you know it's not steel, is it? Is it steel? Who knows? Cast iron comes to mind, but I'm sure it isn't cast iron either. But it's not fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to stop the video. There you have seen the dismantling of the Fender, the Squier Stratocaster Japanese JV vintage. I'm going to put together this, reinstall this, clean up some of the other parts, and then have a think about, do a bit of research and see what kind of lacquer we should be doing this with. But hey, 1983. Also, what I don't know is if any of the tremolo arms that I've got here would suit this guitar, should I want to do anything with it. It kind of looks pretty knackered inside of there. That's certainly not that one. I wonder if it's a free floating one. It's amazing, it's actually got some wear in it. So it looks like it had a tremolo in there at one point. That sort of goes back in. It's not ideal, but we might have it. It's screwing in. Well, it is now. There we go. We're going to give ourselves a little new leaf of life with the tremolo. Why not? Something a little bit different. Oh, there go my strings. Right, okay, so that's all for now, and thank you for spending a few windy minutes with me out in the shed. And we'll come back to you, well, there'll be some more things going on in the next couple of days, not least the white SG, which I've got to take care of. This thing, it's all there, it's got all the parts, everything's intact. I think it even works, but the only But the only thing I don't like about it is the fact it's got some cast or some strange colour cast onto the white, and it's a strange greeny white. It's not an easy one to match. So I don't have a match for the repairs that I've done. Really, they're not exactly matching. But hey, I'll polish them out anyway, and we'll call it quits and get it ready. It won't affect the way it plays. So there we go. Later.